Mike's all yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brother Didacus, and as Isaiah mentioned, I am a parishioner from All Saints who has become a Franciscan brother, and this is
Brother John Mary Casper. I entered a long time ago, 1989, longer than any of, well, I see some parents here, but longer than most of you have been born.
So he's one of the oldest members of our community, and I am the youngest, so we're the two bookends. It's good to be with you all today. Thank you for the warm welcome, and especially for your prayers. Just wanted to ask, who is familiar with consecrated life? Who's ever seen brothers or maybe sisters? Yeah? What orders have you seen? We'll start back there.
Franciscan sisters, and also I don't remember the other order.
Oh.
And then the brothers of St. John. My brothers was in here for a while.
Oh, wow.
Last one.
Great. And then someone else, can you share what you know about consecrated life, or do you know some communities?
Well, I'm a former staff member here, consecrated herself to.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly how it works, but she's not in a particular order.
Mhm.
It's just like a consecrated single, whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So,
Obviously, I don't know all the terminology.
that's quite all right. So what was just mentioned here was a consecrated virgin, which is a little bit different, but still in the realm of what we would call consecrated life. Who knows what consecrated means? Have you heard from your Bible studies? It's from Latin, meaning to be set apart. Like in the Old Testament, God says, I have set you apart. So we're set apart to live our lives and witness to God. And so a consecrated virgin, in this case, someone who's living, we would say living in the world, she still has her job, like people who are married, living as a layperson. However, she has additional commitments, like praying the Liturgy of the Hours, which we'll get into. And she has set herself apart for God. So she's not married to any spouse on earth, doesn't have her own children. Her spouse is God himself. And so we would share that in common. So here you can see just a little bit about our life, just from the outset. Here are our two founders, Brother Michael Gaworski and Brother Paul O'Donnell. They were both in the diocesan seminary together, discerned out, and eventually formed our religious order, the Franciscan Brothers of Peace. We were founded in 1982 in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we have been a local religious order ever since, so close to 42 years now. So just to talk a little bit about myself, I'm this man here on the left, and like Isaiah said, I was born and raised here in Lakeville. I was born in 1991, so if any one of you is familiar with the blizzard that occurred on Halloween of 1991, I was born exactly a week later. So sometimes people will ask me if I remember that, and I say, yes, I remember it clearly. I was in my mother's womb, and she was praying, oh Lord, whatever happens, please don't let this baby be born today. And I was born a week later. So, and then, sorry about that. Here is my dad, Mark. He was a parishioner here, as well as my mom. My mom passed away in May 2022, so she's praying for all of you now. My dad lives in Florida. My oldest sister, Tara, is 9 years older than me, and she lives in Virginia. She's a police officer. And my other sister, Megan, just gave birth to her second child, the first daughter in our immediate family. And she is a registered nurse practitioner. And then here's some of my extended family. This is Tara's husband, Adam, and their two sons, Noah and Caleb. And here's Megan's husband, Elvin, and their son, Oliver, is right. So this may look familiar to you. This is our parish here on the bottom. But I was baptized in the old parish, if you remember that. It's the Lakeville Arts Center now. I remember fondly Father Tiffany was the pastor there, and I was baptized by Father Marty Beckman, who just recently passed away. So you can see kind of some of my photos up there of being baptized, and having my first communion. Our first communion's coming up here pretty soon. Yeah, what an exciting time. Anyone have any siblings taking their first communion? Great. Yeah, we'll say some special prayers for them. And then, as Isaiah mentioned, I went to the public schools here. So I was at Eastview Elementary, then Century, and then Lakeville North High School. They had just changed from Lakeville High School to Lakeville North High School. So when I went to Century, it was 7th, 8th, 9th. But then when I got to 8th grade, it was 6th, 7th, 8th. So I only had 2 years of middle school. It was the best years of my life. And then after that, I went to Winona State University. I studied Spanish and Asian studies and minored in Japanese language. That became my biggest passion, so I'll get into it a little more. But I traveled to Japan for 4 times, and I lived there for a year. I also went on to St. Mary's University, but their graduate school is in Minneapolis, and it was online. And I studied international development, which is like international business, or learning how to be a nonprofit manager. So leading up to that, I worked a lot of different odd jobs. Anyone recognize this one on the top? Did you ever go to the puppet shows at the parks? Yeah, I was the voice of Sparky the dog. So that was a lot of fun. I did that for a summer. I worked at St. Michael's Catholic School and All Saints. I was a Spanish teacher for about 3 months, substituting for Ms. Bray, if you know who she is. I worked at the Burnsville Paragon Theaters, the Lakeville Hy-Vee, and my first job was a cashier at Mills Fleet Farm. So I was in retail for pretty much close to 10 years cumulatively. And then I went to Japan, and I studied abroad there while I was in college. And I really thought that I would be an English teacher. I studied a lot of Japanese, more than Spanish, and I majored in Spanish, so that was good for me. And I really fell in love with the culture. But most recently, I was on a pilgrimage there 1 year ago, around this time, and I got to visit all the different Catholic sites where the martyrs were, gave their lives, where the Blessed Mother appeared, and got to visit St. Maximilian Kolbe's friary and parish. So it was a very blessed experience. And then on the bottom left there, I was helping to give out miraculous medals, which I helped to translate in the Japanese language. It had never been done before. So that was a very fruitful, fulfilling time for me. Here are some of the priests and brothers who have definitely influenced my vocation. So the first one here on the left, this is Father Seth Goglin. He is the vicar of the Duluth Diocese up north. I witnessed his ordination when I was 19 years old, and just a couple of years before that. So how old are you guys? Are you like 15, 16? When I was 17, I just remember when they invited me to discern a vocation, it was always like, well, you can either get married or become a priest. And I was like, I don't want to become a priest. I don't feel called to be celibate. God has a funny sense of humor now. And when I went to my cousin's ordination at 19 years old, I was so blown away because I had never known anyone in my life who followed the path of priesthood personally. And I felt the Holy Spirit descend upon me and invite me to discern as well. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's how I ended up going to college. I was dating for a long time, thought I would get married, but the call never really left. Of course, I mentioned Father Tiffany. He recently passed away. He was a pastor here, very gentle, humble man, very poetic. And then these 3 guys are in our recent history of All Saints. Of course, Father Wilson is still here. They were also very instrumental in guiding me and helping me to feel confirmed in my call. But I want to focus up here mainly because we are Franciscan, and so how is a Franciscan different from these guys? Well, there's a particular spirituality that they carry in that, love of creation, desiring to die to oneself, pick up one's cross, serve the poor. Those are all things that are very central to Franciscan life. And I saw that in these three individuals. St. Francis of Assisi, I read the book by Chesterton. St. Maximilian Kolbe, if any of you guys know him, he's a patron of our community, a patron of life. He gave his life to save another man at Auschwitz during World War II. And then Blessed Solanus Casey is a local saint that we have. He was very prophetic, but he was also very healing and just very present to people. He was ordained a priest, but he was not able to celebrate Mass publicly. So his gifts really flourished when people came to visit him at the door. He was what was called a porter. So he would greet people at the door and listen to their travails. And then here we have Father Connor McGinnis. Anyone know him? Yeah? So he was instrumental in my vocation also, because for the same reason as my cousin being ordained, it's like, wow, all these guys are joining the seminary at the same time. What excuse do I have to not say yes to the Lord? And then, of course, these two guys, Deacon Gordon and Father Wilson, they were present at my lifetime vows. They've accompanied me along this way. And we're going to watch a little bit short video that was done by Chris Masterson here for the parish, showing my vocation story. So.
Father Tiffany planted that seed in me as a young boy, even though I didn't really know much about the faith. I just really enjoyed being there, maybe causing trouble for my parents running around. But I'm so grateful that they brought me, because they really planted those first seeds. Every vocation, every call to discipleship starts within the family, and they enrich you. Solanus Casey was known for saying, thank God ahead of time. No matter what happens, no matter how difficult your circumstances may be, trust in God, have faith in Him, and He will provide. Thank God ahead of time. And so that's how I try and live my life, full of gratitude. And I find that the more I am grateful for what God has given me, what He will give me, the more my mercy increases, because mercy and gratitude are interlinked.
So those were just some of the major reasons why I felt called to the Franciscan life. As I mentioned, I was a little bit of a troublemaker as a kid, so I would always be running around the church, and my mom would lose sight of me, and she would, back in those days, the church was small enough that she could ask any parishioner, have you seen my son? And they would say, oh yeah, he's up in the choir loft. I told my mother before she passed that she had a very special grace being united to the Blessed Mother, in that not only did she see her own son go through the crucifixion, that is, entering the religious life, but she also had the special grace of having her child run away from her multiple times and experiencing that sorrow and then that joy returning. So. Now, here's some of the hobbies that I get to enjoy as a Franciscan brother. You may notice that I did not post a picture of me playing tennis. That's because I do not play tennis in my habit. But maybe you'll chance drive through St. Paul and you'll see me in my shorts and my t-shirt swinging the racket. And then please don't take any photos and put them on the internet. I appreciate it. But I went snowboarding at Lutzen recently. I'm not good. Don't ask me to snowboard with you. I will fall a lot, and I ended up getting tendonitis in both of my knees, so I have to restrict myself from that. But I enjoy a lot of the liberal arts, writing, reading, playing music. See, I'm playing the violin, I play the piano, and And I've also gotten into horseback riding just to connect with our Franciscan spirituality, being out in nature. So that's Pacham there, and he's giving me a little kiss. Now I want to talk a little bit about our life as brothers. So we have a threefold way of life, which means we have prayer, brotherhood, and service. So I'll say that again: prayer, brotherhood, and service. Now, sometimes we're asked, well, what's the order of those three? It's going to depend on who you ask, but for me, prayer is definitely central, because without prayer, kindling our love, our relationship with God, I cannot love my brothers or do the service or the apostolates that we do as adequately, because I don't have the strength, I don't have the energy that can only come from God. So we have 4 hours of prayer. Do you want to share a little bit about those?
Thank you. Yes. We pray who is familiar with the Divine Office, the volume? It can be in a 4-volume set, but we pray the 1 volume of the Divine Office. 4 hours, morning prayer, midday prayer, evening prayer, and night prayer, or compline, we call them.
We have adoration with our evening prayer,
And
most evenings. Yeah.
yes, and combined with the evening prayer is the adoration. Then we're also expected to take our own personal prayer time before the Lord every day, coming before the Lord in adoration, in thanksgiving, in supplication, and we as brothers, relying on the providence of God via the generosity of our basic benefactors, are in a special way called to intercede on behalf of all the prayer intentions that come our way, supplicating for health of mind, body, or spirit to whomever calls upon us.
And then another facet of our life is our brotherhood. When we have currently 9 brothers in our community, but something that holds us all together is the sense of our fraternity, for being there for one another. So just as you have families, husbands and wives, care for your children, that's the priority of your life. In the same way, we value our brotherhood. So here on the left side is our founder, Brother Michael Gaworski. He looks a little bit different than that original picture that I showed you. That's because he fell to a serious illness. He contracted pneumonia and was put in a coma, correct, for 12 years.
This pneumonia was very aggressive, led to a cardiac arrest while he was sleeping. Another brother discovered him at some time. He was clinically dead. The paramedics, which were a block away, came and revived him. He got his heart going again and his brain function, but due to lack of oxygen to the brain, he was in a persistent, I hate this term, but it's what's used, persistent vegetative state for 12 years in our presence. We cared for him for 12 years.
So that's become deeply ingrained in our charism, is that whenever one of our brothers falls ill, we will accompany them. And actually, we have another brother currently, Brother Joseph, who is in bed. He became a paralytic after trying to help someone who was homeless. He fell down, and now he's been confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So we administer to him, we bring him the Eucharist, we spend time with him. He likes to play cards. We'll bring him breakfast and those sorts of things. So it's a deep way for us to really enter in to our brotherhood. And I'll share even more with our apostolates how that spirit of love radiates out into the work that we do. But then we also have additional family members. We have like victims of torture, people who come from other countries who have stayed with us over the years, mostly from Africa and the Middle East. They may be persecuted by the government or for their religion, and then they become part of our family too. So they'll come for like Easter and Christmas and share a meal with us. So we always see them around. And you can see the whole brotherhood right here. This was at my lifetime profession. We have one priest, Father Seraphim Worth. He's our community servant. That's like our superior, so he's like the head of our order. And then Brother James is a local servant at Solanus Casey Friary, which I'll show you. And then Brother John Mary here is the servant at Queen of Peace Friary, our mother house. And then here's a picture of us when I was installed as a lector at the seminary. So I'm also discerning priesthood. And then we have a couple cats right here that we just recently got, Teddy and Angie. So they kind of liven up the house a bit. Any cat lovers? Dog lovers mostly? Yeah. Okay. So here are some of our apostolates. One of the primary ones that we do is the food shelf, and actually it's going on tomorrow morning, Monday, so everyone's getting ready for that. We get a lot of donations from parishes and just generous benefactors, and we provide for about 30 families on average every week. But we also have holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas where they'll come to receive turkeys, ham, and if people are generous, Easter toys and Christmas toys, which makes the children very happy. We have a lot of volunteers who help with that. Here's one of the people that we serve. We have a preference for, because of our charism of the gospel of life, which I'll get into here. We provide for pregnant women or women with children so that their needs are met and they feel supported and loved. So I'll just start with this charism here. This is a picture that we have in our front entranceway. Here's Brother Michael, who we shared with you. Terry Scheibel is another figure from 2005. Our brothers had involvement with her. She was medically vulnerable just a couple of years after Michael passed, or was it within that same time frame? About a year, so very, very close. Our brothers tried to advocate for her life when it was making national news. And then John Paul II, Warrior for Life, I'm sure you all know. And then, of course, this is me here, so I'm being held by the Pope. Well, he was Pope in 78. I was born in 91. It's not impossible, right? And then we have one of our oldest brothers, Brother Dominic Michael. He's been in religious life for 40 years as a brother, and he started this rosary ministry, which his faithful cats are helping out with right here. And Brother John Mary is down here with the VA apostolate. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Thank you, brother. Yes. I have a true, I did, going back in history a little ways, I discovered I have a true heart for the sick and suffering, in that a past ministry we had was called our Samaritan House. It was the first house established in the state of Minnesota, caring for those men suffering and dying from AIDS. I had the privilege of serving there for about 6 years. We divested of that ministry when AIDS became not really terminal, but more of a chronic illness. And shortly thereafter, knowing this calling within a calling of serving, a heart for really serving the sick and suffering, our community was invited by the then chief chaplain of the VA Medical Center, Father Damien Schill, to assist him in offering the sacraments to the veteran patients of the VA Medical Center. And I've been doing that for 22 years now. It's a love of my life. It's a deep passion. Twice a week. Just yesterday, I can share that I had the privilege of ministering to a gentleman, elderly veteran, who unfortunately he had passed away shortly before I got there. They have a hospice unit in the hospital. Tito was his name. elderly gentleman I learned was installed flooring up in Virginia, Minnesota for his career. Raised up a beautiful family. This family was so loving. I had mentioned to them that I had never seen such a contingent. There were probably 20 of them in this smallish hospital room coming and paying their respects to this patriarch who was such a love of their life and a true witness of God's love for each of them. I had opportunity to pray with them. Some tears were shed. And it was and is a true honor for me to be this instrument of God's love here on earth to each of the veterans, not just those who are deceased, but and to the family of the decedents. Was my heart.
So we have a lot of very compassionate ministries, as you can see. And one of the ones that we were founded in was the pro-life movement. It wasn't incredibly popular at that time, nor is it today, but it's certainly grown. They originally had 12 members in the pro-life movement here in Minnesota for Pro-Life Action Ministries, which was founded by our founding brothers, and then a year later, our order was founded. So we've really grown with that as our charism. We often sing at Planned Parenthood on the Good Fridays. We go for the March for Life, and then here you can see myself. This is Brother Pascal. He's the next youngest brother. He and I both sidewalk counsel, and we have some who are like Brother John Mary and Brother Pio, who will go out and pray the rosary, just to give support and consultation to those women. And then we also have a brother, Father Seraphim, who is, sorry, I'm just looking for the laser there. Sorry about that. Right here, he administers to the Quran with some other brothers, provides them the sacraments. They're refugees from Thailand and Burma. They have recently, I understand, gained their independence, which is a great blessing. But they've come to us and have really grown. There's some sisters that may be coming here soon. But we just have this focus on immigrants and refugees. So really, with all of this, we try to promote the dignity of the human person and evangelize the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then here's a couple of the friaries that I mentioned. The Queen of Peace Friary is our mother house. Blessed Solange Friary is our formation house. They're both in St. Paul in different locations. The formation house is for people who are coming in, we call postulants or novices, who are being formed in the way of a brother before they take their vows. So, does anyone know what the 3 vows are of a consecrated religious? They're the evangelical counsels that Christ preached. So, poverty, chastity, and obedience. And we have those here represented on our knots. Anytime you see a Franciscan, they'll be wearing these cords with these knots as reminders. And basically the poverty is not just material poverty, but evangelical poverty. So being able to detach from my pride or my anger and experience the joy and peace of Christ. Chastity, reserving myself for the kingdom, becoming a eunuch for God's kingdom. And then obedience, denying myself my own will in favor of God's will, which we have servants to help us with that, so that we can grow in humility and be more in perfect union with Christ. Okay. Sorry. What's that? Oh. I don't know. What's that? Oh, okay. Okay. And then here's our third friary, St. Francis Friary. we call our spiritual center in Finland, Minnesota. So that's a time for us to recreate and pray. You can see Brother Pascal up here. He's playing his flute as the sun is going down. We have a chapel that's beautifully built out of wood. Has some pretty good acoustics for anyone who likes to play music or sing. It's a very contemplative place. But we can also do other things like you can see me grilling burgers there, or catching northern pike. Anyone like to fish? We have quite a few brothers who love fishing. They'll show you all the good spots. I refer to myself as a man who likes the outdoors, but I'm not an outdoors man. So I generally like hikes and just being out in nature. So you can see me in the middle there by a little creek there. And then we have a couple hermitages, which are just really small, isolated structures where one can really enter deep into prayer, just like the hermits do. And then, of course, we have chores. If you can find a picture of me actually doing any work, I will give you something, and because I'd be very grateful to have that in this presentation. But I do work, right?
He's a pretty good snow shoveler.
But I like to have fun, so you can see me just kind of in the leaf bed and just covered with snow. We carry we'll chop wood, cut down trees up north, but you can see Brother Pascal in the green there, Brother John Mary, shoveling a lot of snow that we got hit pretty hard with last year. Then we also love to have fun, have some recreation. You can see some brothers bowling there. We celebrate brothers' birthdays, and then we actually had some karaoke last night, so that was pretty exciting. Yeah, he missed it on purpose. I'm just kidding. And then finally, we have a secular fraternity. They're actually considered a separate order from ours, but they're comprised of lay people who are married or working in the world, just like a consecrated virgin, but they take promises, not vows, is that correct? But they still are able to enter into our Franciscan spirituality by taking the promises to poverty, chastity, and obedience. Do you want to say anything more about that?
Oh, the gentleman right there shaking Brother Pascal's hand. Mark is his name. See a prayer for Mark. He's got liver disability. He's on hospice. He's in a home. But a very spiritual man. Just had opportunity like a couple of weeks ago to go and visit him, and he's ready for our Lord's taking him home. These folks, I used to be the formation minister for the fraternity. It's a group of very dedicated lay people who are growing in numbers. They are drawing vocations. And they state that they are so attracted to our particular fraternity and that they appreciate the witness of we, the brothers, that any way they can come and assist us and pray for our needs. That's what drew them to Mary, Queen of Peace fraternity.
All right, so that's pretty much everything. Do we have time for questions?
Not really. But I do want to ask a question.
Okay, sure.
Well, first off, round of applause for obviously, it's not just all men here. We have our ladies in the house. Can you speak into anything about like religious life for women and maybe like what that's like? If it's very similar, is it different? Are you able to speak into that at all for a couple minutes?
Yeah, it's hard. I wish there were a religious sister here to sort of represent herself, but one of the key distinctions, I think, is how we approach our spirituality as men and women in the consecrated life. women tend to have more of a sense of their spousal relationship with Jesus, just entering into sort of a romantic love with him, and that really flows out into their service. I think men generally, although we love our bride, the church, and we care for her and defend her, we can tend to be a little more impassioned about the service, entering into that, and just defending the faith in general. I guess if there's time afterwards,
I was just
please.
gonna say,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So we'll hop into a small group here in a minute, but if you wanted to stay back and ask Brother John Mary or Brother Didacus some questions, are you guys willing to do that right after? Do they just send off, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did bring some of our literature here. Feel free to take any and all of it if you're so moved.
Perfect. So if you have any questions that you have for these brothers, I give you permission to go talk to them right now and then join your small group afterward. Does that sound all right? Cool. Let's meet back here at 11:55. I may have to hold you back a couple minutes afterward because I do have some important announcements afterward, but still want to give you the time for small groups. Let's be back here at 11:55. Please be prompt, and yeah, if you have any questions,